Hello, friends and Magic players. I'm here with a deck tech in advance of the Thursday Night Swords and Sandals Gladiator event. Uh, I played the Wednesday afternoon event yesterday with a deck very similar to this. Went 3-0, played Maximum Magic, played all 9 games, got pretty phenomenally lucky in round 3 to top deck the combo piece I needed to win. So I've made a couple of changes just to make it a little bit easier to close out some board stally games. Um, for those who don't know, hi, my name's Maximum Berry. You can call me Max. Uh, this is a 3 card combo centered around creatures dying, coming back, generating some value, and in doing so, allowing it to be looped. So the primary combo here is a free sacrifice outlet like Cartel Aristocrat, Bartolome del Presidio, or Woe Strider, uh, a Cauldron Familiar, and Samwise Gamgee. So what happens there is you sacrifice the Cauldron Familiar to one of your sack outlets, sacrifice a food to bring it back into play, and when it enters the battlefield, Samwise makes another food, thereby allowing you to sacrifice the cat again, and so on and so forth until your opponent's dead. We also have some other food synergies that were going on here. We've got Peregrine Took and Experimental Confectioner, which, if you don't know, if you sacrifice the 3 foods for Peregrine Took's ability to draw a card, this makes 3 rats and also 3 food with Peregrine Took's other ability. So you get to draw your deck. It is slow to do that in an online format, whereas, if you're running this combo in paper, you can just kind of say, hey, I'm going to do this and draw cards until I draw the card I need, or I'm going to pick up, a segment of my deck, look for the card I need, and keep drawing if that's not there yet. It's kind of like, if you're familiar at all with the Malira Pod deck from Modern, back when Modern was really, really good in, 2014, similar lines where it's very similar combos that are incredibly easy to demonstrate a loop within paper and very, very difficult to loop online. I actually find that this one's a little bit easier to loop online than Malira Pod ever was, if only because the sack outlet doesn't have it's not Viscera Seer where you have to scry every time. It's just in the case of Bart and I guess Woe Strider literally is a scry one, but in the case of Bart, I guess it's just it puts a counter on and then you keep going. We've also got some value pieces. I have found that I have been Ranger of Eosing more often than not for Guide of Souls and Ocelot Pride. Just because you win games very, very quickly with the 2 of those in play. They're both, in and of themselves, must answer threats, especially in this deck where it's not like there are some decks that are playing both of these and you're relying on just this or just getting in with your 1/1 to trigger the life gain. We have so many ways to trigger the life gain in this deck. Sacrificing a food, Deathrite Shaman activation, several other creatures with lifelink, Knight of Autumn, random Cauldron Familiar triggers. If you have, if you have the cat and you have the Sam, but you don't have a free sacrifice outlet, you can still generate some value with that, gain some life, make a bunch of cats, and probably enough food to functionally win the game, even if you haven't already in earnest. The 2 new cards today, I cut Igra the 6/6 for 5 cat that makes every other creature into food. It was kind of a holdover from when this deck was a little bit more food fight oriented. Like it was sort of like food combo-y. And a lot of those pieces are like kind of bad, actually. So what I've done here is I've put in Buxton, which is a card I have not owned until today. This tournament's going to be the first time I've ever played it. And I think if this tutored to hand, like if it sought to hand, I would not probably play it. But because it puts it into play, I think that's just going to generate enough value. You can sort of, because we're playing a lot of mana creatures, I think it's likely to be controllable. Like if I'm 2/3 of the way to the combo, I can tune it in such a way that I can leave the right number of things tapped to seek at the right value. This deck, I have found, can chump attack really well. So I can, in a board stall, attack with like enough things that like some of it might get blocked, some of it might not, but it will leave me with enough creatures tapped that will like search for something valuable. And then, you know, from ahead, if we're in a position where we just are attacking with things, then it's just free value on top, kind of like a Cabaretti Revels in a way, which is a card I'm also familiar with. And then we're also playing the Meat Hook Massacre now. And I unfortunately don't remember what I cut for the Meat Hook Massacre, but if I give it a second, I can maybe take a look and see. But assuming that I just don't remember. I cut Grief, which is absolutely the worst of the Evoke Elementals for this deck. I had it in there just for a stretch of like, I want to make sure that, you know, the coast is clear for the combo. There are so little windows to interact with this combo, actually. Like, you kind of have to kind of pre-interact. Like, you need to have like a Rest in Peace or Leyline of the Void effect in play already, Scavenging Ooze, Viconia. You know, you want to so if something's on board, then yes, you have to deal with that first, or just, you know, have more food tokens than they have activations of Scavenging Ooze. Because you can sack another food in response with Cauldron Familiar's ability if they go to exile it with something like that. But regardless, turns out that I'm not actually that worried about a lot of, like, you know, Thoughtseize combo interaction, because I have so many ways to get stuff back that it's just, like, kind of not necessary. Never once felt the need to play it whenever I did draw it. So more often than not, it was in my hand. And that's kind of was also true of Igra whenever I drew it. Like, it's a big threat, obviously, but that's kind of not where we're at. So we're playing the Meat Hook Massacre in part to make it easier to, like, you know, in games where we've valued out a little bit and we're just kind of having them stuck at like 8 or 9, where we no longer need to find a way to get our kind of like poorly statted creatures through their board. We can do, like, basically this is functioning as a Blood Artist for this deck. So I can use one of the sack outlets to just kill them in an aristocracy sort of way, rather than in combo-oriented Malyrapod kind of way. I also found that in some games where we were just gumming up the board, the Wrath effect would be nice for me. Like, if I can, you know, dump a Massacre for 3 or whatever, clear their board, clear some of my board, my stuff, by and large, can come back. I have a couple of different Eternal Witness effects. I have an Unearth. So I just feel as though I am better into Wrath effects than anywhere that I would want. Like, if I'm wrathing, I have the option to wrath with this card, or I have the option to just play it for 0, and it's a weird Blood Artist that gains the life when their stuff dies and drains them when my stuff dies. So I'm quite optimistic about the Meat Hook Massacre. I think this card should have been in this deck for a long time, and I just was dragging my heels because I wanted to play different cards. But here we are, and I am looking forward to having my bias confirmed or not confirmed. Couple other combos in the deck worth mentioning. Hapatra Vizier of Poisons and Yawgmoth Thram Physician. Basically, if you have enough life, you can wrath their whole board, or you can just generate enough snake tokens to, like, kill the stuff that matters and leave the rest of it. You also draw a lot of cards that way. You can't do it forever because you do pay the life. But again, with something like a Meat Hook Massacre, if you're killing a bunch of X1s, you go life neutral on that, and you probably gain enough life to, certainly make it worth it. There's an argument that maybe I want a traditional Blood Artist effect somewhere in here. That way it just is wrath their whole board, because then you go life neutral always. Kind of at this point, the slots are getting tricky. If I move that direction, I would maybe look at like some of the worse mana creatures. I'm sorry to say Gilded Goose, because it does make foods. Gilded Goose making food tokens with an Ocelot Pride in play is great, but definitely in terms of its primary role in the deck of making mana on turn 1, definitely less useful than your Sylvan Caryatids, your Paradise Druids, Delighted Halfling, Deathrite Shaman, kind of. But fetch lands are just so prevalent at this point that Deathrite Shaman is reliably a mana creature for the turns you need it to be. Yeah, so far, perfect match record in tournaments with this deck. Was perfect in LFGQ for a while. But again, exclusively 3-game matches. You're soft to just getting killed. If an aggressive deck goes over the top of you, there's not much you can do about that. And you'll notice that I dodged mono red all day yesterday. I think that is going to be a big test. I feel as though I have enough blockers to make that matchup not just stone terrible. I also dodged a lot of counterspell matchups yesterday. I played a lot of mid-range yesterday. So, sort of kind of got to sit and do whatever I wanted to while they were developing efficient threats. Yeah, sure, whatever. Nice Shieldred. Here's my 2/2 for 4. This card has been overperforming wildly. By the way, it's by far my favorite card in the deck. If I'm ever, if I'm looking at a Birthing Ritual 7 and I have the ability to get this Chupacabra, I am pretty much always getting this Chupacabra because there's usually a good target. And the fact that it sticks around, we can ephemerate it later, just makes it so you're getting a lot for this 4-mana 2/2, usually. And even if it's just face up, kill a creature, block another creature, that's perfectly good a lot of the time. So, got about 8 minutes until this tournament starts. I'm going to record my matches and we'll see how it goes. Thank you so much, everyone. Here we are for round 1. We are playing against a Sultai Tempo list. So we're going to have to be careful of some counterspells. Losing the die roll, unlucky. They appear to be on a Nadu. They do not appear to be on a Bristly Bill. This hand is pretty good, actually. We have a combo piece, we have a tutor, we can draw some cards, we can fetch a surveil land. We are going to keep that. Drawing the best card in the deck on turn 1. You love to see it. We're going to be surveilling for a white-black land, just to get onto all of our colors, and to make sure we can play this Giver of Runes and Bart. I do wish the tournament board cycled through places still and wasn't just this arena. Any land. That's kind of any land. If anything, that's a better use of our turn this turn. Unless it gets counterspelled. Okay, not the worst counterspell here. We still have... Really, the nightmare scenario was memory lapse there. But we still can draw another land and still do this. And if it's an untapped land, we can play Giver of Runes as well. I have noticed that basically whenever we love to see that. That's one of the cards that can sneakily bamboozle us occasionally. Missing the third land, not great, obviously, but we're not under such tremendous pressure that I'm expressly worried about it yet. We're going to take 3 here, go to 16. No worries at all. I think we're going to play this Giver of Runes. And the question is, I think we want to draw a card. Yeah, we really need to hit some lands, so I think we need to try to draw a card here. Unlucky. I will probably block a Boggart Trawler here if they attack with it. Just so they can't. Will I? I will, because post-combat they can just go get, like, Nadu or something. Hey. Okay. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. This isn't great. Would definitely have expected to see another land by now. But, yeah, such is the way. We know for next time. Cycling, you line up the shot. We're not going to block. That's fine. We're still not in the worst possible place here, by the way. Like, I'm being a little bit doomy about the land, but they're kind of flooding a little bit. Although, you know, they're about to... Yeah, just on board, they could go get Shieldred, which I assume they're on. Let me check the list. They sure are. Getting a 3-drop. Oculus. Yep, that sure is one of your targets. Well, that's kind of a land. Actually, with Fiend Artisan in play, that's pretty good, actually. Um, let's see. What happens if I get Basic Forest? I have double. I have double black already, which is the one I care about the most here. I can play this out just as another blocker that probably turns into Samwise Gamgee at some point if things go right. Only valid targets my Ephemerate, which is a little bit rough with a Chupacabra in hand, but definitely still not the end of the world. This Dread Knight is now probably getting right under this Nethergoyf bus. Worth noting, my opponent is on Thassa's Oracle Tainted Pact. Just as things we'll want to keep in mind. Not a ton of interaction, to be perfectly honest with you. Like, not a lot of, like, actual factual counter spells. So, tempo seems to be mostly correct for the most part here. Yeah, cool. Didn't draw enough land. These things happen. All right. Let's give it another shot. We'll get to be on the play this time. As I mentioned in the deck tech, I did play 9 games in my 3 matches on Wednesday, so well, that's less lands than we even saw last game. This hand's pretty good. I think we are going to put probably the Aganjo on the bottom. Just because everything else that's happening here is pretty important. Like, we can't give up a combo piece. If we end up not finding the rest, we'll want to have that questing beast. Not really what we're looking for is that Yawgmoth. If our opponent was on, like, Boros aggro, like if we were playing against mono red, we would probably consider that a little bit more. But even then, I think at the moment we're pretty content to just play this on the slower side. Let me just make sure they're not playing Stifle. They do report to be a tempo deck. No Stifle. Cool. We're going to go get the green-black Surveil. Interesting. We've got 4 lands. I think we're okay to... Just based on what we're seeing here, I don't need to draw that land. This is the only play that uses our mana efficiently at the moment. So let's run it out. Resolves, huh? I kind of didn't think that was going to happen, but, you know, we take those. So I think we're going to go get Sam here. just as the combo piece that is not as easily found as the cat, knowing that we already have this Cartel Aristocrat in hand and can cat combo that way if need be. I assume they're going to go get an underground mortuary as well. These lands are so good. Like, they probably would have been good even if they didn't have the land types. They're so good with the land types. Depending on what we draw here, I think we're going to jam this Questing Beast. Kind of. I have bad news about what's not great against my almost 50 creature deck. We'll happily jam this into a remand memory lapse. Just as happy to let it resolve, to be quite frank. Our opponent may be in a similar situation that we were last game, where kind of weren't drawing the right half of our deck, whereas that's never a great sign. Yeah, Stone Rain yourself does not feel... Okay, well, in the service of casting a Fatal Push, that does kind of circle back around to okay. It does, however, kind of let us pop off a little bit, where we're going to get to play a lot here. This is going to be a very good card in the matchup, because, as you can see, Samwise Gamgee is legendary. Kind of at the moment, we're playing around a Spell Snare, which, to be honest with you, I don't think they even have. They do have Stern Scolding, though. Which is a counterspell that certainly hits Samwise Gamgee. Could very well have hit that Delighted Halfling if they had it, though. So, really, it's protection for if they draw it right here. Ah, my mistake. They do have Spell Snare. I don't know what I'm talking about. They definitely have some counterspells. 1, 2, 3... Spell Pierce, but that kind of doesn't count here. Counterspell, remand, memory lapse. So, 6 or 7, which is not bad at all things considered. Okay. We're going to do this just to have it in play. And that kind of suggests to me that they do have one of the counter spells that would make this Sam very sad. We're gonna get in. We're gonna take the action to make this Guide of Souls bigger. Make it so if they want to play Toxic Deluge, they have to try a little bit harder. We don't have to do that in the face of the 2 toughness counterspell we think they may have. We can just make them have it on the turn we need it. We might end the game before it is even relevant, to be perfectly honest. Brainstorm. Maybe a shuffle effect, maybe not. Let's see. Well, that Yawgmoth could be bad. But not exactly a preponderance of creatures happening here. So, all right. Another land, not the worst thing in the world for us. Our shifting woodland's probably never turning into anything, but we're pretty happy to just crack with this Guide of Souls ad infinitum. A little unfortunate. If this is Stern Scolding, then well. Hey, look at that. Out of the hand now. Our other sack outlet is also a 2-cost creature, so folds to the same sort of spell. Notably, Bart is also legendary, so if this Delighted Halfling sticks around, that'll be nice. Alright. Emperor Bone's getting bigger. Probably going to put the Questing Beast in play. Ding me for 4. Getting rid of my Guide of Souls. That's fine. We're blocking here in case I draw an Unearth. So I can get another tutor effect off. Especially with them going shields down, that feels even better. It's not an Unearth, but it's not bad either. To be honest, I think I'd rather kill the Tarmogoyf now that they've used the Emperor. Happy to get in for 3. Put them to a life total where now if I draw Meat Hook Massacre, they're just dead. My life total's not a concern with 2 foods in play. Hey, look, they drew their Unearth. How nice. Don't have anything in my graveyard I'm especially worried about, because the adaptability can only happen once. If they have some other way to give it +1/+1 counters, then phenomenal. But when I saw the Nadu, I went looking for a Bristly Bill, and they don't have that. So, all right, we are flooding a little bit, not going to lie. But, you know, we have a sort of degree of inevitability here. Like, they can't apply a ton of pressure to me either. This is exactly the sort of board state that the Buxton that I put in the list is good for. Just sort of selectively tap certain creatures to seek on the mana value I'd want. Where in this instance, frankly, I'd probably go for 4. Shieldred, the Necrobloom, or whatever the 2/7 is called. Siege Rhino. Just sort of, you know, putting my opponent to 2 as opposed to 5 is not irrelevant here either. I think I'm just going to take 4 here, actually. Yeah. Perfectly fine to do that. We'll use one of these food, just sort of keep ourselves topped up. Well, hey, look at that. I can even pay for a Spell Pierce. Let me just check, see if They're on... I don't even know if we have Mana Leak, to be honest with you. This is already more than I usually check lists. Let's do it for 5 just in case. Oh, legendary spell. Wow. Wow, this card's better than I thought. All right, now what my opponent might do here, and this would be kind of funny. I could have floated a green there to play it back out. That way, weirdly, this Birds of Paradise ever dying would become a win condition for me. So, misplay on my part. Definitely could have done something there. Especially because I didn't realize that Delighted Halfling is any legendary spell. Definitely sort of removes the biggest thing I was worried about playing around. We're doing better on timer than our opponent, but I've never once, minus the very first Gladiator tournament I ever played years ago, which had, I believe I Sphinx's revved for like 11 that game. The timers almost never come into play for me, just because I am very much a proponent of conceding when I am aware that I am dead. Save time for everyone. My opponent also realizes that, oh, well, there we go. In some respects, that was a cat combo, in that the combo was my opponent was at 1 and I played a cat. Funnily enough, I have not yet done the full combo in a tournament match. We're definitely going to keep this hand. This hand rules. Oh, our opponent's on a mold of 5. We will probably run out an Overgrown Tomb on 1 here to set our, like, basically shock to 18, but go to 18-19. Our opponent may Thoughtseize us here. Tameo, that's also fine. We're just going to get the cat out there. Get it in play, doing its thing early. Disincentivizes the Tameo from attacking. Ooh. Is our opponent... Okay. I was about to be deeply concerned for our opponent here if they were on 1 land Tameo, because... Alright, that certainly suggests that they are on more than 1 land. We are going to... This is a good turn to go get a Surveil. We want the green-white one, so we're going to play this Verdant Catacombs. Attack our opponent to 15. And pass the turn. And from here, we kind of get to do something every turn now. Depending a little bit on what we draw, obviously. Our clock's not, we're not presenting a phenomenal clock, but neither is our opponent. So, yeah, we're not too worried about a 1-2 Tarmogoyf. Obviously, we can't crack in now, but not an immediate pressing concern either way. We are going to shock to 16. Play this Glissa, which will get to start drawing us further into our deck so we can do a little bit more probably here. Okay. Probably then this turn we are going to play Nightmare. Never mind. I think we're just going to try to win the game. So we're going to go get Basic Swamp. That's good and fine. What we're actually going to do in the face of that then actually is we're going to run out this Naked Bart. And we're going to block and sack if presented with the opportunity. This Tamiyo is starting to worry me a little bit, not going to lie. We've allowed our opponent to accrue some value with it. I'm not immediately worried that they're going to flip it, but it definitely is, kind of starting to trend that way. Tapping both blue sources there, definitely makes me feel a little better. We are going to assemble the team back with this Timeless Witness. We are going to attack for 3 just to keep the life total pressure on. If they want to block with their Tamiyo, they absolutely can. Didn't think so. Not sure why they didn't attack, to be perfectly honest with you. Might as well get another clue. Two cards. They can crack the clue to flip the Tamiyo. But with this assemble the team, being able to go get Sam out of our deck if it's in the top third, which I like to think I'm pretty lucky. Yeah, we'll see. We'll do a little bit of thinning just to up the odds. If we look at Sam here, then great. We do want to draw that card just in case Assemble the Team does not resolve. Which, to be fair, I don't expect it to. Ooh. Alright, so unfortunately it's the wrong Sam. However, there are lots of good cards here that I'm quite happy to take. Fiend Artisan would let us go get Sam. So that's what we're going to take. We're going to play this Jet Collector. Go to combat. No attacks. None needed. Play this Mox Jet. And play this Fiend Artisan. Drawn a card. There's definitely ways my opponent could interact with this still. They can kill the Fiend Artisan. They can exile the cat from my graveyard right now while I don't have a way to Save it. Definitely not a surefire thing. Shieldred does kind of cut down the number of... Especially if they just sack a... Sure, go ahead. Gain 2 life. You got it. 1, 2. We'll sacrifice the Timeless Witness. Go get Sam. Play a non-token creature. Up. That ability only triggers once each turn, so that's fine. We will go through it as often as my opponent would like me to. We definitely always want to wait and make sure that the food is in play before we go to... Like, we wouldn't want to sack the cat in response to the Sam trigger or anything like that. If they had any interaction, they would have obviously used it before this, but... This is legitimately part of why pressuring the life total matters, by the way. Because if they are going to make me do this, and to be clear, they should make me do this. It is, you know, play to your outs. I could mess this up. And one of the ways that decks like this lose is taking a long time to do stuff like this. Like, if this was game 2 after they had won game 1, they should absolutely make me play it out, because every minute it takes off the clock is another minute I won't have in game 3. So, yet another 3-game match. Not shocking, given the, what we're playing, given the variance inherent in 100-card singleton formats. So, I'm going to take a little break and see you back here for round 2. All right, we are back for round 2. Our opponent is on a mono black control list. So certainly going to be able to kill my things. Does have a Cling to Dust, which is one of the more annoying cards for us. Never lucky. We draw any black card in this hand, just immediately becomes awful. That might end up being a mistake, but... we are going to keep this, assuming we don't get turn 1 Thought Seized here. Okay. We're going to... go get Sylvan Caryatid to ensure that we're able to, like, Enduring Innocence and then Sin Collector. That's fine. Good news that Liliana does not do much into this Caryatid, just as God intended. We are going to Enduring Innocence first, that way at least our Sin Collector draws a card. If we draw another land, we get to Birthing Ritual, then Sin Collector.
I'm calling the shots here.
Never mind. Okay. Little do they know that this actually we do have to do something about this Shieldred's assimilator here. Where it might honestly be we have to start turning that into less of a problem.
I'm not finished with you yet. No more games.
I'm pretty happy to honestly take another 5 here, knowing that they're not on, like, counterspell. I'm happy to just play this Solitude. Like, just give it a sec, untap, play the Solitude, exile the Assimilator. Our creatures get better at blocking that way. We'll be at 4, which is not a ton, obviously. Well, that's kind of compelling. Alas, no, I think we have to... I think we got to get rid of the Menace creature. This is going to trade for that anyway, so might as well take the zombie with me.
My packs give me strength.
This is obviously not going how I would describe as well.
Witness my power.
Just from a pure value standpoint, that is happening here. But we have some... We don't have 0 outs. We're not just straight up dead yet. You know, yet. Alright, so we get a 1-drop with this, or we can... I can just blow up a creature, though. They have instant speed removal. Okay, we still get to go get a 1-drop. Draws us a card, which pings us. I think we were just a turn or two too slow. I think that's what happened here, because I think we just get to... Yeah, I think we get -3 here.
Oh, soon you'll be left with nothing.
-3 here.
I've decided I'm going to win.
Yeah.
Conquest begins.
Cool. Easy enough. All right. We just weren't fast enough out of the gate on that one. Getting the birthing ritual to rest obviously wasn't great for us. Yeah, you know, these things happen. This, on the other hand, is great. So, we're gonna... I think our life total doesn't matter as much as I think it does. So we are gonna fetch shock. Just in the interests of getting a good creature in play. We can do a nifty little trick, or we could just do that. We'd have to fetch shock again to do that. Gotta say, it does seem worth it. The real question is, what do we go get? I think we go get the other Sam. Just looking around, seeing if there's anything else that makes sense to me at the moment. No, let's do this. We have, this is also life neutral on the combo. It doesn't like gain us life, but we can sack the cat, targeting itself with the Yawgmoth ability if our opponent doesn't present legal targets. We would also have to obviously draw the cat, which hasn't happened as of yet, but, you know, I believe in us. Let's play a land. Don't need that especially much. I want to wait until I have other Sam backup to play first Sam. Just in the interests of making sure that my combo pieces are all in play. What does this do? Cool. Put it on Sam. We're more likely to want to continue to attack with Sam than we are with this Recruiter of the Guard. And at this present moment, we would be very happy to trade this Sam with that Emperor of Bones. So we are going to run the Sam out now, just so we make a food token. A little unfortunate. It is going to mean that we're going to have to do something different this game. But we have other options in terms of winning the game. You know, we can just play good creatures. It was probably greedy. Like, I don't need to play the Sam there. Well, little do they know that I have something for that, because we can't let that continue to develop value, I fear. We are probably pretty okay. Just turning our board into killing his at this point. Just because. To wit, we're actually going to go get Basic Force now and cast the Scavenging Ooze. That way, we have something in play that says, hey, this was actually a good line of play. Adapt is instant speed. They can adapt in response, which would be, like, fine. Can I activate this at instant speed? I sure can. So we are going to get in. So I'll do it in response to the adapt. If they adapt. And if they don't, no worries. We're certainly going to kill that thing. Yep. All right. First things first. Let's do this. Get that Zombify out of here. Let's do that. Next turn, we're going to play this troll. I don't think I actually, at this moment in time, care about getting Emperor of Bones. But having said that, I think actually I really, really do. Because I thought about it for truly 5 seconds longer and realized that with my opponent with a known swamp in hand, let's just do a good magic thing. How about that? I want to gain some life here. Just I don't feel safe at 7. That's pretty good. Unfortunate, but we did know that was coming at some point. Not too worried. We're looking pretty okay in this one if I had to, you know. Presumably they uptick here.
Nobody knows Dominaria's shadows.
Interesting. I'm going to put that Knight of Autumn right in the graveyard. Going to play that creature land. We're going to attack Liliana. We're going to play the world's best land cycler. Hey friend, you got it. Does this make the food? It does. On attack? Yes. We don't want you to do weird things with that dread presence. I want you to think you can block this Bartolome. That is also fine. Great. Swamp. Hapatra to draw a card. And we can even Takanuma if we really want to. So we've got this one pretty well locked up. We're going to get back the Scavenging Ooze probably just because they have lots of targets and so do I. Just sort of in terms of ending the game the quickest. They've absolutely got a Tassiger. I would be the one picking what they get back, so they can absolutely activate the Tasker if they'd like. I am going to make them do that now, though, just because I think they're dead on board presently. You may have this Deep Cavern Bat. Let's go to game 3. All right. Keeping that maximum magic streak alive in terms of, number of games played. This weird visual bug does happen to me a lot. Don't know why. Almost never affects anything like in the actual game screen, just in like the base client for whatever reason. Well, my opponent has snap kept a hand of 7 cards. This hand kind of doesn't do anything. This hand also does nothing, but in a way I respect more. This land will enter tapped and doesn't tap for 2 colors, so I'll put that on the bottom. Alright, what do you do? Nothing yet. Okay. Honestly, just being a 1/1 Death Toucher is good enough. We'll play out this bird. If it lives, we get to invasion for a better mana creature. Well, it ain't doing that.
This fight finished before you can quit at any time.
This is interesting. I think we can invasion for 1 for a delighted halfling. Just to keep our mana development up. It will also let us play this Elishnorn next turn, which is going to be a little bit trickier. Like, it lets us do some more stuff. Obviously, we're going to need to find an answer to that Liliana, but it getting minused here is kind of a good sign for them not being able to otherwise remove it. It's also just, easy enough to target this way. I did not realize that Tiny Bones said it mana washed. So that's fun and exciting. Let's get any land that taps for white. And ideally one that comes in untapped. We're going to do this. Where the hope will be that we get to Birthing Ritual into something. That is still the hope. Just with this Delighted Halfling instead. Although we can... Actually, we can... Well, we could. But this Tiny Bones is annoying. Let's actually just play this Honest Rustine for no value. I don't feel optimistic that we're doing a ton of landfall this game, but it is like, you know, it's something. Can't block the Tiny Bones. They're going to get their Honest Rustine here. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this looks great at the moment. I assume they're going to cast that. They might have something better to do. Because they also don't have anything going on in there. Well, that's kind of the fear, is that they do have that. Any target, huh? Okay. Well. God, I only have one light source too. Well, I think the undefeated streak's coming to an end here shortly. Let's just go have a look on this. Jeez. Yep. This ult's on 7, right? Yep, we're dead. Ah, well. 1-1. So, we'll get to... Good run of luck ends there. This is sort of the kind of deck that does run into pockets like that sometimes. The decision point there, I'm going to have to close and reopen between rounds, I'm pretty sure, just to get that visual bug to go away, because it bugs me. But, yeah. I'm wondering about that opening hand in Game 3 there. It just didn't do enough. Like, it wasn't doing anything to that, like, against that hand that could so earnestly, like, get up and running very quickly. So, yep, think that's how that one was playing out regardless, but I'm sure I'll figure out when I go back and watch this later. All right, see you again for round 3. All right, we got our round 3 pairings. My UI does not look weird anymore. We are playing against Naya Aggro this round. So Naya Aggro, haven't taken a good look at the list yet. I'm about to, though. Yep, straight up 48 creatures. This is interesting. They're going first, but we kind of do nothing, but we have one of the cards that we really want in the matchup. I'm going to keep it. I want to put it out there that that could be wrong. Like this absolutely, like if they like slam a Ragavan here, okay, that's not, great, but it's also not the end of the world either. All right, so we're gonna go get some sort of mana creature here. I think Sylvan Caryatid is the best one in general. Just sort of in regard to which one is the best. Ooh, that is an unfortunate miss from my opponent, I believe. Never want to be attacking with the Elvish Mystic. We unfortunately have this one. That sucks. You hate to see that. I think even if they manage to find another land there, we've gotten to the point of the game where we can kind of take over. We are going to mulligan that one. Again, this one's better than the last one because we have some ways to interact for free. Really why we're keeping it is on the back of one of the better cards in the matchup. I am going to put this Solitude on the bottom here. And we're going to just hope to surveil into more lands. Hey, look at that. I'll take another one. Perfect. Honestly, that's better, because we get to surveil again, and it puts something in the graveyard, so we maybe get to make a Mox Jet. Our opponent doing a similar thing. Dashing a Ragavan. Obviously not ideal, but we know that they're not getting a super high-value card, at least. So we do have to leave up the Swords to Plowshares now, knowing that they have that Ragavan. But we'll happily do that song and dance all day, every day. Inti, interesting. I think our plan is to hope they attack with the Inti and not with a haste creature. Condemn is an interesting include for what is nominally an aggro deck. Let's just present that block. Makes our birthing ritual better. Ideally, we draw a land here, honestly. I am debating if I... No. I think I'm going to attack. I'm going to play this Cartel Aristocrat. And this birthing ritual. I definitely want this Ranger Captain of Eos. The question is, which one do I sacrifice? Controversially, I am going to sacrifice the combo piece. I think we're at a spot in this game where we can take over without necessarily needing to combo. To that end, I'm actually going to get one of these two, probably. Off Ranger Captain is kind of tricky because it's obviously, looking for just one of them and they're a good combo together. But I have a Meat Hook Massacre, so he says grabbing the one that does not then gain life, because that would also kill the cat, obviously. We were kind of hoping to hit Night of Autumn to blow up the Fable here, to be honest. That would have been, I think, better, ultimately. But again, oh, I'm so sorry. We're going to get this Renegade Rallier to then also get that Cartel Aristocrat. There's an argument to be made that maybe we're supposed to let the Reflection flip before meat hooking. I think that our opponent has been very unfortunate with their mana on both ends of this equation. They've drawn probably too many this time and not enough last time. So I think we're just kind of in an unfortunate situation here where they are very flooded in a way that is not very easy to do much about, unfortunately. We are just going to attack with everyone. Quite happy to trade this Cartel Aristocrat with the Reflection. Really, if they're blocking with the Reflection, I feel great. Awesome. And this is, again, one of those situations where, because we have the Meat Hook Massacre in play, we can just reasonably do... Oh my god. Well. My opponent kind of has a turn to 20... Yeah, that's just... That's rough. It is kind of an anticlimax in the 1-1 bracket, fighting for 2-1 and a good, sort of a good feeling at the end there. That's... Yeah, that's Magic sometimes. We obviously don't know what they, mulliganed in their 7-card hand in game 1, or if they should have mulliganed again to 5. Obviously, we don't know. We'll never know. But that's brutal. And I always wait until they say GG whenever I win a match to say anything, because I don't want to salt blast people, but we will be quite polite. Thanks so much for watching. I intend to record every tournament I play from home, so I'll be able to look back and critique my own play, see what I could do better, and do deck techs whenever I play new stuff. That way, people who may not have tried the format yet can see the depth of viable archetypes in the format. I truly think Gladiator is some of the most fun you can have in a competitive Magic format, and the community is one of the best. Hope to see you again.